So I'm pretty sure it's accepted now that Ruby Amethyst Bounce is the tier 0 deck of the format. It will be for the next couple weeks until set 3 comes out. What I have for you in this video though is a pretty competitive intense match where we face off against another red-purple bounce deck, so it's the mirror match. And I figured this would be a useful match for those of you who like the meta gameplay based on the comments from the last video, because with this deck being so popular and being accessible right now, you're likely going to run into this at locals if you do play red-purple. You're going to run into it online if you play red-purple. So I wanted to show you some of the ways that I pilot the mirror match. The deck list will be linked in the description. And then the second clip of this video, which again you can see in the timestamps, is me reverting back to the Arthur build, and I'll quickly go over in that clip why you might want to play that build over the more like anti-aggro build. They're both good. The anti-aggro build has more coverage though in terms of being able to deal with a wider array of decks, but that being said, if you're expecting most of your matchups to be against a specific kind of deck like the mirror match in red purple, which one actually is better? And I've actually faced my anti-aggro deck against a red-purple who was using Arthur against me, and it was actually kind of tough. Maybe that's for another video though. Let's go ahead and jump into this mirror match and see how this version of red-purple performs. Alright, to start off this match, we mulligan away a Maleficent Dragon and one of two goats in order to draw hopefully some more playable cards on curve. We are going second, and in the mirror match this is pretty not great because the opponent who goes first obviously dictates tempo, and they don't really care about the extra card because they draw so many cards anyways. It doesn't really make a difference. They have the perfect turn 1, turn 2, right? The 1-drop into the snake. Unfortunately, we only have the Olaf that we can't even quest with now, otherwise it gets traded for free into that snake. The opponent then inks the mini they brought back and plays the Maleficent, the ideal turn 3. So they've got turns 1, 2, and 3 locked down with a perfect start, and they went first. Like, you can see how much like tempo they dictate, and you're going to see throughout the match just how far ahead they get because of this like really nice setup. So the opponent definitely knows what they're doing. You see me make an awkward play of using Teeth and Ambitions on my Olaf because I don't really value establishing the mini right now, where you could argue that that probably was a good play, but this is what I was thinking about, like thinking ahead here. I wanted to prevent them from singing Friends on turn 4, just slow them down a little bit if they had it, and then I was going to crab the Olaf into the snake. However, the opponent has the next card that wins the mirror match in the spell book. And again, they've just got every answer to win this match really quickly. I have a lot of cards in hand, but you know, these are 6 and 9 costing cards and the Tremaines and the Maleficents. Are they really going to do anything? Let me know in the comment section below before you move further ahead in the video. What could I possibly do to win this game if I don't really play like the Aladdins and things to claw back lore? The opponent has yet another goat, showing why they were willing to crash their other goat into my crab, just to kind of control the board state a little bit. And they're up to 8 lore already. They've got a goat and a spellbook in rotation. And right now I'm just like, I'm going to drop this Tremaine because I have to deal with this goat at some point. Let me just get it off the field, get your free lore, and let's continue playing the game and see if I can do anything to come back. They start their turn, they go to 10, and they just pass. So that tells me they have Be Prepared and Lady Tremaines in hand. So I'm going to do my best to play a little bit more passive, but then I'm like, you know what, if I force them to be prepared, I can just draw 2 off the Smerlin Rabbit, draw 1 now, and then draw 1 when they be prepared, and the be prepared will force them to ink and waste their turn, keeping them on 2 cards, and it prevents them from spellbooking as well since they're on 7 ink. And so sure enough, that's what happens, and they pass back to me. So now I can go ahead and reestablish a board. Because I anticipated Lady Tremaine, I dropped the small Mini Mouse as well, and sure enough, the opponent drops a Lady Tremaine. So this keeps my Mini Surfer safe. So you can see how I'm trying to like play through the opponent's cards, or I'm trying to make reads, and so far they have been successful. And you may think, well, Quantum, no, I think you overextended it into that Be Prepared. Did I really? Because look who has tempo now. The tempo has switched to me, right? I'm the one with the board established. I'm the one that's outing the opponent's threats. They're the ones that have to react to my threats. Yes, they do have the lore advantage, but I am technically in control of the match. On 8 ink now, I'm going to be able to drop my Maleficent if I draw into an inkable on turn, whatever turn this is. Thankfully, I do, and right away we drop the Maleficent. Again, the opponent being on 2 cards, I have to kind of race them against this spellbook, and at this point, unless the opponent can start generating a lot of advantage, they just need to quest with whatever they've got, right? So they're kind of in top deck mode, but they do have the spell book. They do have a Be Prepared to wipe the board, which sucks because that's 4 lore gone for me. But we are going to establish, again, more draw power and just continue to try to draw cards, because my outs are basically just getting that Ursula and trying to get an Ursula rotation going with like the Mim Foxes or the Mim Snakes. The opponent reveals a Minnie Mouse and an Olaf, and I do have 2 Be Prepared in hand, so at least I don't have to deal with goats. They spellbook up to 14. I quest with 2, of course, and then I have to Be Prepared everything away. So the nice thing is, like, at 11 ink, I can still establish somewhat of a board. So I drop the rabbit, which is nice, and I can pass on that. The opponent does a Friends on the other side, drops 2 1-drops, and I'm like, this is nuts, eh? I have to Be Prepared 1-drops, but I have to. But we're going to preserve our rabbit first to continue to draw cards, and there's finally my spellbook. I do play 2 in this build to combat the mirror match. And we just drop a Pinocchio because, again, this is more of an anti-aggro card. We don't really need it for that. The opponent thinks for a while here. I know I cut it out and skipped ahead. And they dropped a Yzma to basically say, like, I'm just cutting down your clock. I'm going to quest with this Yzma. You have to answer it. And, you know, to be fair, they did draw me 2 cards, but they are going to force me to use this Be Prepared on 1 Yzma. At least, like I said, we have 11 ink, so we can drop the rabbit and continue to draw, and we finally draw into the Ursula. And now I just need to draw Mim cards in order to cycle this Ursula multiple times to kind of combat the spellbook. The opponent double drops 2 characters, bouncing back the crab with the fox, and this fox is just lore, right? It's just 1 lore if it can survive and they can quest with it. We do draw into a Yzma here, but at this point I'm going to value the lore drain over the bouncing back of the opponent's fox with the Yzma, because why give them a draw 2 when I can just take away the lore that they're going to get with the fox anyways, right? It ends up equaling the same thing. We are going to end up inking that Yzma in the end and dropping a spellbook, because this Ursula questing for 3 will put me very, like, on par with the opponent very, very quickly. So they quest, they spellbook, they drop the crab, and then they drop the fox, bouncing their exerted fox back to hand. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to quest with everything, and then I'm going to Mim Snake back my own Ursula so that I can drop the Be Prepared. Unless you top deck a goat, you'll only go to 19. And I draw a goat, which is essentially a game winner here. I mean, I would have just dropped the Maleficent otherwise, but because I drew goat, now I have game next turn. And unless the opponent drew a goat, they can't gain 2 lore, or they could top deck another spellbook, I guess. But yeah, they draw a fox, and they've shown me that they draw another fox, and just like that, we were able to come back and win the game. You see how the Ursula made the difference there? That 1 lore ended up winning me the game. So if you made it this far in the video and you enjoyed that last match, please make sure to drop a like on the video. It really does help a lot, and I really do appreciate it. In this next matchup though, it's a pretty short one to end the video off with. I just wanted to show you again the power of like the Arthur version of the deck, where we're utilizing LeFou and Arthur, because Arthur in and of itself is like a 1-man engine or a 1-boy engine, I don't know. But just the fact that like you get the bounce effect for free when you quest, like you see how useful bounce is. Like in that last match I was talking about having to like have enough resources so that I can play the Mim cards to bounce back my Ursula and recast it to keep the opponent off floor. Like with Arthur, you just quest and you get the card back for free. Probably in the description I have the video linked where I was using Arthur to bounce back Tremaines for free every turn, and I literally recast Tremaine like 3 times in a row, outing my opponent's board every time. Like the advantage and the lore you get off Arthur is absolutely insane. Like this card secretly is very like unbalanced in my opinion, but it's not really being utilized a lot right now because like aggro exists and this card is kind of dead against aggro. I mean, aggro uses it, but like in other matchups where Arthur could be better utilized, like bouncing back Elsas and Maleficents and Lady Tremaines and Ursulas, it's a little less utilized. What I would say though is, as you can see in this match, we're going up against Sapphire Steel, the Popsicle engine, it's ramping up, but they can't do anything before you get to like essentially like 12 lore with an Arthur and you win the game basically. It's quite insane. So unlike the anti-aggro version, which you just saw me do the mirror match for, we need to get like 15, 16 lore, then you can start closing the game out with goats. With this deck, you just need like 12, and you're going to see the exact example in this match here. It's absolutely crazy. This version of the deck also just, I think, has a better matchup across like other rogue decks. But that being said, so does the anti-aggro bounce version that I was just showing you. It's also very strong against everything. So like right now, I think that Arthur is like a win more card, I guess, but it is still very good. The opponent just quests with everything here, and this is going to kind of wrap up the video. They don't see that I have game on board, so I'm just going to say, okay, quest with everything, bounce goat, and recast goat, and win the game. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.